people are always doing the best they can with the skills they have. And this is really putting the skills to the test. I'm hearing about examples of greatness every day where people are, being generous, compassionate, and kind. And I'm hearing about little examples where their skills are getting tested. So tonight we want to dive in, give you some tips, tools, and techniques on how to make it through the bumps, the challenges, the changes, the stress, and do it in a way that brings you closer together rather than drives you apart. Because how we communicate right now is going to make a huge difference as to whether we stay together or it rips us apart. I am Paul Sterling. I have been a relationship and intimacy coach for couples for over 25 years. And I am lucky enough to have Heidi Love joining me from Hawaii tonight. Heidi and I have taught together on multiple occasions, and she is a powerhouse of love and wisdom. So Heidi, you want to introduce yourself, and aloha.
Yeah, aloha, Paul. I'm so glad to be here with you tonight. This is fun. It's been a while since we've gotten to teach together. And I'm super happy to be supporting people during this time. I know during this time, I've actually needed more support. So I just want to put it out there that there's no shame in needing support. And it's a very unique time where you might be stuck with people you don't like or people that are hard to get along with. And we just want to share with you some simple and effective ways to have connection and maybe bring you to a little more love and a lot more fun at home, even when it's stressful.
So I just want to I wanted to say a little bit more about you, and then we'll dive into the content. And so Heidi, I want to bounce back to you for a second, just so that people get an idea of where you are. We talked a little earlier today. If I'm correct, you just got over one or two disasters where the volcano was erupting, the lava came down and stopped like at your driveway.
Yeah, pretty close to my driveway. From my back window, I could see it shooting 200 feet in the air, and I'm about a block and a half from Fisher 8, and my home made it. There was some damage, but it's still standing, and it's all back together beautifully now, and it's a great place to be stuck.
A great place to be stuck. And if I'm correct, you've got one daughter in Germany and another daughter in Arizona. So this is a chance, this is like a test. How do you stay connected over distance with people you love and care about and worry about?
Yeah. It's I have never been more thankful for social media, for Zoom, for WhatsApp. I WhatsApp with Carly and Macy all the time, and thank God for video. I remember the old days when we had to pay for a long distance phone call. So I've never been more thankful for technology, and that is not always the case. I was kind of a poo-pooer about technology.
Yeah. So we're going to use technology tonight, and we're going to dive into some of the core skills. And what I want to do is almost every time I talk, I have the same sort of format. And why I do that is, if you think about a basketball game or any athletic endeavor, there are the basics. And if you master the basics, you get good at doing the other stuff. So former boss, Tony Robbins, once told me that most agreements are unspoken until broken. To get clear on what your agreements are. And so what tonight is about, I'm calling it the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is to discover, how do we create a relationship that is remarkable, and what are the remarkable relationship skills we need, and how do we actually even survive this challenging time? So some of the things we're going to go through are tips, tools, and techniques in 7 key areas. So, so in a relationship right now, we're trying to maintain 3 relationships at one: friendship, partnership, and lovers. All 3 of these all at once. And how do we do that? What I decided to do, and this is the first time Heidi and I have done this particular one together. We've trained a bunch in the past, but I wanted to kind of let people know what's possible in advance, then dive into the 7 skills. And then I want to dive into what's running the whole show. So here we go. Here is some feedback from some people who have used these tools, the compassionate communication and compassionate relationship tools. Linda from New York said, I started out feeling hopeless and alienated in my marriage. I wondered if it was over and used this as a last ditch effort. And all I'll say, I came away feeling empowered, hopeful, and willing to surrender unconditionally to loving my partner. And that was, they had been married for 25 years. And some of the stuff they went through, almost anybody would have told them it was not possible to save this. But with the right tools, it was transformational. Another person came and said they came as a final ditch effort. After many attempts at couples work with other individuals, working with Paul has finally helped my partner and I have a breakthrough to a place of understanding and appreciation for each other. And just so you know, I'm not going to go through it now, but this is 1 page, 2 page, 3 pages, and 4 pages of results that this couple got from applying the tools. So I want to dive into the tools and help you understand what's going on. So Heidi, I'm going to see if I can start with you. So Heidi, do you have a cell phone?
Yes, I do.
All right. Almost everybody on the call has a cell phone. I use this metaphor all the time. Mine has 156 apps in it, like little mini programs. But it's got one operating system that runs the whole show. And you can make a change in the app and it doesn't affect the operating system. You make a change in the operating system, it transforms the 156, or it has an impact on all of them. So what is the operating system for our relationships? It's called the relationship operating system. So the habits, patterns, and beliefs.
Yeah.
And so what happens though is most of us never understand what those habits, patterns, and beliefs are until we see them in our behavior. And what I want to do is help uncover some habits, patterns, and beliefs. So here's a quick example of how to do it. I didn't ask you in advance, but are you willing to be vulnerable?
Yes, I'll be vulnerable. Live on Facebook, why not?
Why not? There's just a few 100,000 whatever people watching. So what happens is we have, well, if you have a car and your emergency brake is on and you're trying to drive, so one part of your car is trying to slow you down and the other part's trying to go forward, and we have this friction. And so what happens is people want to get in a relationship, or they want a loving, deep, intimate relationship, and there's a lot of friction and they don't know what's going on. So what's happening is they have beliefs that are battling with each other. Mm-hmm. And so what a belief is, at least my idea of what a belief is, the belief is a story we tell ourselves with a feeling of certainty. Mm-hmm. So Heidi, if I'm going to ask you a question and then just answer right off the top of your head, the best part of being in a relationship is?
All the touch and affection.
The best part of being in a relationship is?
Laughter and smiling.
The worst part of being in a relationship is?
Miscommunication.
So what I want people to be doing is in their own head answering these questions, even though you might not be doing it live. The worst part of being in a relationship is?
Not being heard.
And here's where it gets, so those two were very leading. Here's another one that you can go either way with. If I'm vulnerable with my lover.
Oh, answer that. If I'm vulnerable with my lover, sometimes it feels dangerous.
If I'm vulnerable with my lover.
It opens us up.
If I'm vulnerable with my lover.
I'm scared to death.
All right, so perfect. Thank you. What I want people to see is, do you see how those were two very almost opposite? If I'm vulnerable with my lover, and I don't have your exact thing, but it's like it will connect us. If I'm vulnerable with my lover, it scares me to death. So it's like, and yet, do you want to be vulnerable with your lover?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's, and I've got like a whole list of these. If I communicate, so I'll do one more. If I communicate my needs, my partner will
Not meet them.
if I communicate my needs, my partner will.
Shame me.
If I'm, So thank you, Heidi, for sharing your heart with us. And it's interesting, as soon as you said that, like, I just resonated with me, and I wanted to shift this a little bit. That is the process we go through to kind of uncover what's going on underneath, so we can reveal what are the habits, patterns, and the beliefs. What are the beliefs that bring us closer, and what are the beliefs that tear us apart? And there's we're in a culture of need shame. And so when you think about it, I'm going to bring one up in a second, some needs, but it's like, if you look at it, we have needs shame, needs embarrassment, or needs embrace. And if I'm in a relationship with someone and I am ashamed of my needs, when they start revealing their needs, what do? Am I comfortable and happy with them revealing their needs?
No.
So it's uncomfortable for me if you reveal your needs. So I want you to stop revealing your needs. So what do? Shame you.
Yeah. Shame me. Shame on me. Can I say something there too?
Sure.
That comes up. I'm surprised that's what came out of my mouth, but you told me to talk impromptu, so I was. And I was a person that didn't even know what my needs were. And I know we both work with many people where someone will say, I'm not getting my needs met. And when we ask them what their needs are, they don't even know. And so that's step one. And then two, having acceptance, like you're talking about shame, like, can we even accept that we need that to be able to ask for it? And then I was working with a client today where she'd been asking for her needs to be met and had been so unmet by her partner, she was afraid to keep asking for them. So there's so many layers to needs.
And here's a critical thing. I'm going to reveal one of my beliefs. And one of my beliefs, I don't know if it's true or not true. I think it's a useful belief, but there's only one reason to be in a relationship. So what's the one reason to be in a relationship? So Heidi, let's see what you've got.
Really, I think it's to get needs met.
Yeah. And people can say there's all these different needs: connection, sex, communication. We'll go through the top 10 needs tonight, so you can start to identify them. But I want people to test it in their own mind, not just because Heidi said it and because I say it. Don't just agree with it, but test it for yourself. So here's the test. What happens in a relationship if you still love each other, but you stop getting your needs met? The relationship starts to fall apart slowly or rapidly. And sometimes, the relationship is dead. They just haven't buried it yet. They haven't gone through the divorce, but they're not in the relationship. They're not committed to it. They're not loving each other. They're basically, the relationship is dead. So, Heidi, while I'm bringing up the top 10 needs, do you want to describe what needs are so people have an idea of that?
Sure. I think needs, everything we do in life is to get a conscious or unconscious need met, and needs vary greatly. a lot of people, when we think of needs, we think of food, shelter, like the basics, and relational needs go much deeper. And Paul's going to give you example, but a need is a longing, a desire, something that fills your intimacy bank.
Okay, can you see the needs here, Heidi?
It's small, but I can, yes, I see them. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's 3 phases: noticing it, naming it, negotiating it. So first place is even to notice it. And Heidi started off with the concept of shame. And what shame is to me is I feel broken. If I'm ashamed, it's like there's something wrong with me. And something's wrong with me that I have needs. If I didn't have needs, I would be okay. So that's phase 1, where I'm just ashamed of my needs. I don't want you to know I have them. I don't want to show anybody. The second level up is I'm embarrassed about my needs. If I'm in a relationship, I want you to read my mind, meet my needs without me having to ask you. And if you don't meet my needs without me having to ask you and be vulnerable, then you don't love me.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And
Yeah, I
so
think
shame, embarrassed, embraced. And embracing, see, when we're actually asking to be our needs to get met, and Heidi, you brought it up with your client, like to be voluntarily vulnerable is an act of courage, immense courage. You're saying, this is precious to me. I want this. Would you be willing to meet my need? And we're going to talk about how to ask for that today too. But that's a real act of vulnerability. And even if you can't meet their need, you want to acknowledge it and lean in. So Heidi asked me to do something to meet a need, make a request, and I'll show you what to do, what not to do.
Okay. See, what do I need from you right now? No.
It could be just outrageous. It doesn't. I'm going to bring it back up so they can see us for a second.
And this is just for role play, right?
Yes,
Not something
totally
I
for
actually.
role play.
Okay. So what I need is an hour back massage.
Okay, so here is the what not to do. I can't believe you need an hour back. You know, people are suffering out there. What's wrong with you? It's always about you. How come you need everything? I'm not asking for a massage. I'm toughing it out. So like, let's just not do that. So try again.
I knew you were going to say that because you never touch me.
Oh, snap. Now we've gone, all right, hold on a second. Watch this. This is a great chance to look at how do we communicate. And I'm going to bring up the communication model, and we're going to keep going on this. So there are 3 places you can communicate from: collapsed, combative, courageous. Collapsed is where you give up on your needs. I'm going to give up on my needs. It's all right. Like, I don't need a massage anyway. I was just kidding. You know, no, don't. Why would you want to massage me anyway? I'm whatever, martyr. On the other side is you could go to combative. Like, if you don't give me a massage, you're never going to have sex again, or whatever it is that you're going to like. I'm going to get my needs met at any expense. And then the third one is to be courageous. So if you look at this, in this situation, where did I come from when Heidi was vulnerable and asked for her needs to get met? Was I collapsed, courageous, or combative? And where do you go? When you get challenged, when you come up against a difficulty, do you collapse? Do you become courageous? Do you become combative? And all of these are different ways that we can deal with it. So let's, Heidi, ask that question again. I'm going to get out of that screen.
Before we do the role play, can I jump in here? Because I was
Yes,
just
please.
thinking, I was just really impacted today by someone not getting their needs met. So we first have to have the courage to ask for the need. And then if we're unmet by our partner, or we're met in one of these ways you're describing, the combative or the collapse, it's deeply painful when you ask someone you love for something you need and they're unable to give it. And so there's like grief that happens. You have a loss, and there's stories that happen. And then the partner, if they don't meet you at all, it can feel quite lonely and abandoning. And so I think there's such deep compassion needed on each side. And I would like to share a tool, and maybe you're going to share it down the road. That if you can't meet the person's needs, you offer something you can give. So you're not just leaving them with an unmet need.
So, yeah, let's talk about that and give an example of that. So, all right, we'll switch roles and then you can demonstrate it. So,
Okay.
man, my back is sore. I've been working with a bunch of people. I've been on the internet for feels like days on end. I would really, can you give me a massage? You haven't been doing much.
Yeah. A little
Sorry,
dig in there.
I couldn't help that one there. That's, by the way, that's not the way to get what you want. That's pretty much guaranteed. Even if you do get it, you're gonna regret it. Okay, so
Yeah, so I'm going to hold empathy for that too, Paul. So I'm wondering, because you've been working so hard and you're exhausted, and I've had more time at home than you, I'm wondering if you're a little bit envious of my downtime.
wow. So we can communicate from our heads, our hearts, or our hurts. And the hurt is that reptile brain. And even though I basically communicated a bit from my reptile brain and from my heart, Heidi met me with compassion. Even about something where I was like triggering and poking at her, she could still meet me with compassion. Okay, so back to you.
Yeah, so if I took that personal, I probably would have lashed back out. But if I step back for a moment and just try to look at what he's going through, I can share empathy, which I did. And so, honey, I realize your back hurts so much and you'd really love a massage. And I know you know that I'm good at that. And today has just been a rough day and I'm really not able to get you a massage. But I'm wondering if I could just get you a heating pad and some hot towels, and maybe I can just touch you with those steam towels. Would that be okay instead of a massage tonight?
That would be sweet. And thank you for meeting both my request and my frustration. You know, like it's like I do feel overwhelmed, and your compassion is helpful. And I am a little envious that you have more free time than I do right now. And I'm embarrassed to have needs, because I know right now there's so many people that are so worse off.
Yeah, and you know me, in the past, I would have just given you a massage anyway because I'm a little codependent, but I'm really trying to speak up for myself. And I also want to honor that I know your back needs attention. So I'm trying to give you something that's honest for me too. And it's really hard for me to tell you no.
So that's a critical thing, to not end up in the world of resistance, resentment, regret, when you're saying yes, but you really mean no. And there are two, when I was studying with Marshall Rosenberg, the creator of Nonviolent Communication, he was defining there's two kinds of no. There's NO and there's KNO. And it's like, it's not no, I don't want to meet your needs. It's I don't know, KNOW, how to meet your needs and still meet mine. Because I was interviewing somebody the other day about parenting using nonviolent communication, and it's like Violent communication is when I want to get my needs met at the expense of your needs. It doesn't matter whether you get your needs met. And so nonviolence is like, I'm not willing to be a martyr, but I'm not going to be combative. So I want to meet your needs in a way that also meets my needs. So that's what you elegantly did. Now, is this the normal way that people communicate? So Heidi, is this the way you normally communicated growing up? Is this what your household did?
No.
What was it like at the household?
In my household, oh, I think people were often dishonest. There was one person always trying to meet the needs of the other at the expense of themselves, and on the backside, angry and explosive, come out sideways. And then the other parent always demanding having their needs met because they're the head of the household.
Yeah. And so what did you learn about your needs growing up there?
Oh, that I'm not allowed to have them, period. I always showed up, it was part of my history of healing is it meant you're a good person if you always put others first and always took care of other people's needs. And if you wanted to keep your partner, you definitely had to meet their needs all the time.
Had to meet them all the time. That's so true. We are, like I said before, we're in a culture of need shame, so we don't talk about it. We keep it suppressed. We're embarrassed by it. And one of my mentors, a woman named Allison Armstrong, and this is an exercise for you guys. So this right now, hopefully you have your pens, your paper out. And here is a question that you can ask. During your time together, locked up together, have a date night. And on your date night, if it was a date night and it was Heidi's night, have a date night where your partner gets it to be their way. So I would go, like Leah is my partner, I would go to her and say, if you could have it all your way, what would you want to do tonight? Now, it's within the confines here in California of being in this house. We're not going out. We're not going, we're social distancing. But within that confines, if you could have it all your way, what would you like? And it's about making friends with your needs, being able to notice, name, negotiate, to understand and embrace and express them. So I'm going to actually start listing off 10 of them, and we can start looking at and having people actually start to go, oh, what are my needs? I never knew that. And if
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd love to comment on that kind of date night thing. There's a game I suggest to people, yin and yang, and it's like that. And oftentimes in a relationship, there's one person that is more the giver and the other the receiver. And when you allow one person to just be receiving and the other giving, it allows this polarity to adjust. So it's uncomfortable often if you're not used to receiving, to just ask for what you need and then allow yourself to get it. And so it's a good boundary to, when we're both giving to each other, like even in making love, this person's touching me, so I have to touch them back, and I'm not even fully present to me being touched. And so you can play with it with touch, but also in just giving and receiving acts of service or whatever you're going to do for date night. And it's a really good learning to really be a good giver and a good receiver.
Yeah, it's like, if what you said is so critical. So if you're giving a massage, then the person on the table most of the time just has to relax and let it in. Mm-hmm. Sometimes in lovemaking, if it's your night, you get to relax and let it happen to you and just receive and not try to give back at the same point. Now, here's the point of this, or part of this exercise is, a lot of times, say on a scale of 1 to 10, I have something that's a 10. I want to watch this movie that I know she doesn't want to watch. I want this. I want to cook food and rub my feet while we watch the movie. And so I go, all right, well, she probably won't watch this movie. So what movie would she watch? And I start compromising in my own head before I ever open my mouth. So if I had this number 10 thing that I wanted, I start at maybe a 6 or a 5 and go, you wouldn't want to do this miserable thing with me, would you? And I pick a movie I don't even like, but I think that she would watch. And then we start talking about it, and then she negotiates down, and it's like nobody's happy. So the exercise here is to really say, if I could have it all my way, here's what I would want. And it is uncomfortable at times to really just be honest and go, oh, what would I want? So I'm going to give you some needs here. This list is a hybrid list. There's 10 items. Marshall Rosenberg, the creator of Nonviolent Communication, he probably has a list with over 100 or more. Tony Robbins has a list of 6. I'm somewhere in between the two. I have a list here of 10. I'm not saying these are the only ones, but I'm saying if you get these, this is an incredible foundation for your relationship. So I'm going to go through them and get Heidi's ideas and our ideas. And what I want to say in this, Heidi said it too, this is not the normal way to communicate. This is not the normal way to be in a relationship. Normally, we avoid talking about needs, we get resentful, we argue about it, we withhold love, affection, sex, whatever it is, and then it's this battle zone. If you want a remarkable relationship, you need remarkable skills. If you want remarkable skills, we're creating a course that is going to be 10 days. It's going to be a deep dive, and you get to practice each of these. You get to practice noticing, naming, negotiating for your needs, actually being able to ask them, going through the belief sheet that I started with Heidi, and uncovering your beliefs around relationships. Relationships are, communication is, men are, women are. You start to deal with them and go back and forth and start understanding it. There are 7 core skills. If you understand these skills, you are set up to win in your relationship. And most people are set up to lose in their relationships. It's super sad. That's why divorce rate is over, I think it's 60% or something at this point. And that doesn't include all of the people who have long-term committed relationships where they were never married, but it falls apart. I am responsible for 1 divorce and 4 broken engagements. They say almost every master started out as a disaster. So I was a relationship disaster, and I had to learn these skills the hard way. And now it's like, it wakes me up early, keeps me up late. I want to share what I have learned so people don't have to go through the same pain. And the last thing I want to say about that is my parents, they were together 18 years. They went through a painful divorce, and it wasn't a divorce because they stopped loving each other. It was a divorce because they ran into problems that was bigger than their skill set. My parents literally would still get together around Christmas till the day my dad died. My mom would fly up from Arkansas. They got different partners. They were both had different partners, but they still loved each other until the end. And they ran into problems. And part of the reason I teach is because I think that a lot of these separations, divorces, all that are unnecessary. They're just from people that don't have the tools. So one of the big tools is needs. I'm going to define them and get Heidi's definition. And then we're going to be close to the end of the hour. I want to hear people, as we describe these needs, what are your priorities? Which needs are most important to you? And what is the strategy for getting that need met? Because trust and certainty is the first one. We all have different strategies for trust and certainty. So Heidi, which ones, if you look at these, I'll buzz through these really quickly. We didn't have this planned out. I want to find out which one is most important to you. So there's trust and certainty, there's variety and uncertainty, there's significance and being a priority, there's love and connection, there's growth, there's contribution, there's emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, sexual intimacy, and attraction. So if you think in a relationship, what's like the number 1 and 2 for you?
I mean, what first pops out to me is significance and a priority in someone's life for sure. And the would be between affection and emotional intimacy.
Okay, so physical intimacy and emotional intimacy. So I want to make this juicy for people if I can. And so if you think about it, what makes you feel significant? Now, see, here's the thing. What you're about to learn, and this is a tool you can use. I would do this with your partner. If you can, copy this page, these 10 things, and sit down tonight with your partner or do it at date night and go, honey, let's figure out what are your top 1, 2, and 3 needs and what are your strategies. So there could be 10 different people say significance and priority is my most important need. And they would have 10 different strategies. So the same need, but they'd have very different strategies for how to get it met. If I want Heidi to feel significant, I would have to go, what makes you feel significant or like a priority in a relationship?
I think this is so key, Paul, because when people will often ask for their needs, or they'll get a little confidence and they'll say, honey, I need more affection in the relationship. And so the person starts touching them more, hugging them more. And the next week they say, I need more affection. You're not giving me the affection that I need. And to them, affection meant call me on the way home and see if I want a Starbucks or bring me some flowers. Like, to be thought of was affectionate to them. And so when you're asking for your needs, try not to get pissed off at your partner if you're not being specific. Take back the responsibility and give them exact instructions of how they can meet that need. And so I think you were going to talk about that, Paul, like what is significance and priority to me. I have an old wound, which I think we're going into in our class, how wounds affect the relationship. And so that'll be part of our course that Paul and I are teaching. But I have an old wound that says I'm not important. And so to know that I'm significant or a priority is really important for me, so that that wound stays closed, And for me specifically, it's to be thought of, to be considered in decisions, to co-create together, to know that my opinion is important. To going out to eat, I like it if someone's not on the phone. That's like one little funny thing for me. Even with my kids told, we're around a lot of new people this summer, and my daughters are like, oh, don't use the phone at the table if my mom's buying dinner. And they know that to me that's important, to have that intimate family time. And so I feel significant if I'm getting that quality time, which is another stealth need underneath there, right? Quality time.
Yeah. And you started to reveal your ROS, your relationship operating system there, from the wounds from the past created a belief. And it's like, as we start going through this, we start to reveal and heal the past wounds. So the other one you said was, I think, physical intimacy.
Yeah, physical intimacy. And so to me, that means a lot of touch and affection. It means honoring each other's physicality, honoring when there's a yes, honoring when there's a no, and really learning how to touch each other in a way that actually feels good, like exploring that.
So you can become curious. It's like, rather than say, I know how to touch women and you're a woman, so I know how to touch you. It's like, oh, this is a woman and she's got a woman's body, but you know what? Why don't you teach me how you want to be touched? So it's like you start to be educated. So this, we could have spent the whole night, because this is really rich stuff going into it. And I could talk about mine, because growth, contribution, and significance, those are in there, and intimacy. It's not like we all have all of these needs. It's just which ones are the priority right now. And
I have a little exercise they can do to find that out. Do you want me to share that?
sure. And then we'll go into the top 10 things that, I mean, the 7 skills. So go ahead.
Yeah. So when you're trying to discover what is the most important need for you currently, and again, these change over the years, so you need to reevaluate. But I look at, if I could only have one thing in this relationship, what would I just die without? And that's the first one. And then if I could only have two, only two, what two would they be? And that's the second one. And then, go down the line. And it's my philosophy when I teach about needs, that if we have our top 5 needs met pretty regularly, we are very in love with each other. And when that wanes, we start falling out of love with each other. That's when it's like, I love you, but I'm not in love. And when people come to me and say, I've fallen out of love, I say, no, you've fallen out of meeting each other's needs.
Actually, Heidi, thank you so much, because that is simple and profound. And Einstein says simplicity is genius, but it's only on the far side of complexity. And so feelings and needs, very complex subject. And between what I just showed you and what Heidi showed you, you can simplify it. And this is like, if you're with parents, I mean, not parents, if you're with kids, if you are a parent and you're with kids, you can do the same thing with them. You look at the list of needs is going to be almost identical. The one thing you want to cross off there is sexual intimacy. That's not one to talk about with them yet. But the other needs are all very important for kids to get those needs met, and ask them what strategies they have and have it be a conversation. And you can do this with your roommates. If you're locked up with your roommates, it's especially important with your partner. You can use this time to dive deeper into the relationship. So I'm going to go through 7 core skills that we're going to go through. It's going to be over 10 days. And normally this course would be like $997. And what we've decided to do is make it $97 instead of $997. So it is a radically different course. I mean, it's radically different price, but we're going to dive as deep as we can into it. And it's going to go through, how do you identify your ROS and make it more user-friendly? That's your relationship operating system, your habits, patterns, and beliefs. And then there's 7 skills, and I'm going to zip through them with Heidi now. And I'm going to go through them one at a time. And you'll see that we've talked about most of them already tonight. Number 1 is compassionate communication. And that is, of all of the skills that are going to get your needs met, having a great compassionate communication tool belt is critical.
I just want to say that we modeled that, like me giving him empathy, but not being able to meet his need. That was practicing compassionate communication. And it's not a skill that most of us grew up with. So there's a lot of learning around it. And once you learn it, it's like a habit, but it is like learning a different language almost.
Yeah, I say it's not learning a different language. It's learning how to use language in a different way.
I love it.
And to get a different result, so that when I listened to Heidi and when Heidi listened to me, there was different times where you could just feel the emotion shift. It's when somebody feels heard, understood, and valued. That is when you're doing compassionate communication, and you enter their world and they enter yours. And it's like, oh my God, a lot of times you'll bring tears to somebody's eyes when you listen to them that deeply.
Yeah, and I know that everyone on this call has probably had the feeling in their life, like, of being truly seen, and how that feels in your body. And that's what the result is of compassionate communication.
I wrote a book, Argue Less, Love More. And if you go to the website, arguelesslovemore.net/course, COURSE, course. What you'll do is you'll get on our mailing list for information about this. I don't have a page about this course. we just realized so many people are hurting right now and they want to have something super affordable. So it's $97 for the basic course. It's $197 course plus the group coaching, and it's $497 if you get private coaching and go through the course. So that normally I don't even like, I start working with people. It's the basic thing was $2,597. So this is a quantum leap there. The value is still there, but we want to reach everybody now. And
Yeah,
anyway,
we're trying to meet the need of the financial crisis going on and the need that everybody's stuck at home with their families. And we want to make it a really quality time that you have together right now, couples and parents with children.
yeah. So skill number 1, compassionate communication. Skill number 2, noticing, naming, negotiating your needs. Skill number 3, and we talked about that. Skill number 3, conflict resolution, because they're gonna be, when you put enough stress and communication issues and all the rest, there are gonna be conflicts, misunderstandings, upsets, arguments. Learn how to turn them into something that's connecting versus separating. So that's a powerful skill.
I was looking at wounds and triggers, so I'm at number 4.
Do that one then. Jump into that one.
Okay. So number 4 is wounds and triggers. And I spoke about that earlier. Like my needs that are high in relationship come from having a wound around not feeling important as a child. And so often our wounds and triggers give us information of our ROS. What is our relationship operating system? And so we really can help you mend those and operate in a different way, or at least really realize them so you can know how to show up with them. Like it's okay for me to need to be significant and I know where it comes from, and that's okay. It took me a long time to accept that.
Yeah. And the more wounded we are, the more triggerable we are, and the less fun sometimes we are to be around.
Yeah, for sure.
When somebody's really triggered. The other side, though, is when Heidi embraces it, or I embrace my wounds and tell my partner about it, we can help heal that together. It's not something I have to hide. It's something that we as a team can work through. And if they know I've got like 2 years ago, I broke this hand mountain biking. And if she knows that my hand is broken, she'll be sensitive around that.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean we avoid talking about it. We work at healing it. All right. Number 5 is building trust. And it's trusting our partner and trusting ourselves in a relationship. Can I be me and still be in a relationship with you? 3 shades. Number 6 is the 3 shades of intimacy: physical, emotional, and sexual intimacy. And those have a huge impact on our relationship. And the more connected, especially like we'll talk about masculine and feminine energy, and the more that we can connect to those energies, the more intimate our relationships become. And the last one is dealing with differences. It's the D's, dealing with differences, decisions, and difficulties. If you want to create what I call a relationship tool belt, these are 7 major skills that deal with 7 of the core issues that we have in relationship. Each of those skills is designed around a problem that destroys relationships. Communication, not feeling heard, understood, or valued. That's a killer. Not getting our needs met and being shamed around our needs. Conflicts. Do we use conflict to suppress our partners? Or are we conflict resistant and then we become a martyr? Are our wounds getting in the way and not making us available to the relationship? Do we have trust issues, intimacy issues, and dealing with difficulties? So Heidi, what do you have to say about all this?
I say that it's necessary and we all need to learn it. And I want to be in this conversation until the day I die, because I keep learning more and more. And the skills go deeper. I was thinking about difficulties and decisions and differences. And when we get into that piece, it really speaks about our values. And you can really learn about a person when you understand what their values are. And sometimes we have value differences, and sometimes they can be deal breakers, but oftentimes you can learn how to live with each other's value differences and honor each other in them when you understand them. But people get into conflict when their values are stepped on and they don't even know that that's happening. That's when we really take things personal. I often hear people say, you did this to me, and you know that I believe this. And that just goes so wrong.
I know.
Like Paul and I love to teach with each other because it's the feminine and the masculine, and we think very differently. So we get to offer you both perspectives and shed some insight on and how we can connect better as, opposite gender humans. And the body shame and sexuality is so tender, and again, that's the transparency and honesty in relationship. Can you accept where you're at right now and share that vulnerably with your partner? And we will go into that deep. I mean, it's a really tender question, and one that I've experienced in and out through my life. I mean, I can speak on that for a long time. And I'll say one thing that you can practice right now for whoever answered that question. I had to really come to the acceptance that this body is the only body I'm ever going to have in this lifetime. And it's my most intimate partner, way more than any other person. I am stuck with me forever until I leave this body, my bodysuit. So I can't change my body overnight. It's okay to want to look different or be more fit or lose more weight or gain more weight. All of that is okay if you can know that today your body is how it is in this moment, and how can you love it? How can you partner with it? So I'll just leave you with those questions of tenderness around body.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you want to know more about the course, in the next couple of days, we're going to have more information, but go to arguelesslovemore.net/course and leave your name and email. And anything you got from this class, please share it with other people and go do those exercises. I'm going to close on, I was working with this couple in Vermont, and I want you to understand the power of this. And what they said is, after many attempts at couples work with other individuals, working with Paul has finally helped my partner and I break through to a new place of understanding and appreciation for each other. Now, we worked together for 3 months, and about 3 months after we quit working together, I called them up and I asked if I could ask them, what's the residual effect? What's gone on? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about, I mean, they went on and on and on, and it took up an hour. I'm not going to take up an hour now, but I'm going to give you a little bit of what they said they got. And she has 2 pages of what she said she got, and he has 2 pages. And if we talk to Heidi, I know that Heidi has a list of people that would give the same testimonial. So it's not about me. This is just a couple. So she said she got back her feminine power and went from feeling like he had all the power and the final say to understanding he wants to be her hero and to make her happy. Mm-hmm. That was transformational. And that she could use the "can you hear me now" communication process, which we kind of danced around. That's my version of nonviolent communication, to enter his world so he felt heard, understood, and valued. And anytime we communicate, that's what we want. And that gave her more patience, confidence, and compassion in connection with her lover. It also gave her a chance to go much deeper into his world. She was able to discover her 7 core needs. Now I've upped it to 10 core needs. And like Heidi said earlier, if you get those needs met, even at the top 3 to 5 needs are getting met regularly, you're going to have a rock star relationship. What else did she say? She said, make it go faster. She was able to identify her limiting beliefs and start letting them go. These are the beliefs that were running and wrecking her relationship. She stopped taking his masculinity personally and started to understand the differences between the sexes. And it's differences because we've worked with straight relationships, gay relationships, lesbian relationships. It's the masculine energy and the feminine energy, and learning how to dance with those that create a polarity, that create more intimacy and understanding and connection. She also understood that when he was single focused and in the hunter mode, to not try to get his attention when it wasn't available. So it's like set it up to win versus set it up to fail. And she got clear on the power of her words. So I want to just cover a little bit of what he got so people get both sides of this perspective. And what he got was he got to stop taking himself so seriously and have much more fun in the relationship. He got to understand the difference between men and women in a way that was empowering for both of them. He saw that sex is a great indicator of how connected they were, sort of the canary in the coal mine, telling whether the relationship was in good shape or not. He loved that he was able to enter her world so that she felt heard, understood, and valued, and he felt like her hero. He stopped worrying about what she said and became very interested. Let me stop. This one's really important. I'm going to say it again. He stopped worrying about what he said and became very interested in what she heard. And there's a big difference between them. And we'll talk about that. So he loved that they both became aware of the impact of using language that implies bad, stupid, wrong, and that shuts down open and honest communication. Now, I'm almost feeling a little awkward that there's more stuff to say, but I'm going to just say a few more because I want you to have a feeling of certainty. If you're going to put your time, money, and energy into it, I want you to go, oh my God, this stuff is going to work. He learned about the power of speaking in chunks and not overwhelming his partner by saying too much, chunking down so it was absorbable. He also understood the difference between chunking for the masculine and chunking for the feminine. He stopped taking it personally when his beloved asked him to slow down and use smaller chunks. He stopped playing to lose and started playing to win and became a lot more patient and supportive of his partner. Everybody take a breath in. Would that be worth spending some time and energy to transform your relationship like that? So, Debbie, you could take us off. We're wrapping it up. I know we went a little longer. And here are the options. If you just want the course to go through the 5 different modules live and interactive with us, we decided to do it because so many people have been reaching out to me and wanted this, but said right now finances are tight. So we said we'd do that for $97. This course normally would be like $997 and be worth it. So if you just want the course material, $97. If you want the course and the live interactive Q&A support group, which is going to meet, I think it's probably going to meet 5 times 2. So there'll be the content on one day, the Q&A and support group where you can get live coaching the next day. That's $197. And I normally charge $297 for a single session. If people wanted to work with me, it was $2,475 to get a 10 packet, 10 sets. So this is like a lot less expensive. And you can decide. You can say, I'd rather work with Heidi than Paul on something, or she'll run some of them, I'll run some of them. So there's 3 options. Number one, $97 just for the course material. $197 for the course and the support group that's live, interactive, and it's a group support, not individual, it's group. There are people that want personal, private, focus just on them support. That's $497. So you get the course, the group, And then private, you get 3 sessions for $497. We'll have all this detailed later. If you're interested, it's not an obligation, but if you're interested, let us know so we can get you the whole write-up when it's done.